Good evening, class. My name is Clinebell, and tonight we're going to continue our discussion on the modernization of the U.S. Cavalry. On this research database, I found several sources that cover this topic. The first source I looked at on this research database was Porty Cavalry of the United States Army, 1927 to 1943, by W. Rick Stainfield. In it, he talks about the first experiment to modernize the cavalry in 1927. This experiment was called the Porty Cavalry, where the cavalry troopers and horses were moved by trucks. In this experiment, they modified Liberty trucks that were used in World War I to support the weight of horses. This method would be used to move the cavalry to places where the terrain was too difficult for mechanized vehicles to maneuver. In 1933, the Army continued its experiment in the Porty Cavalry by contracting commercial trucks to move the 1st Squadron of the 14th Cavalry Regiment from Fort Sheridan to Fort Custer. It just so happens that I was a member of the 114 Cavalry from 2012 to 2015. The next article that I reviewed was A Bond with Horses, Colonel Elwood L. Nye and the Twilight of the Cavalry by Elizabeth A. Lawrence. In this article, the author talks about the end of the horse cavalry. In 1933, General Douglas MacArthur disbanded the 1st Cavalry Regiment and they were mechanized. In 1942, the office of the Chief of Cavalry was eliminated by the War Department. Colonel Elwood L. Nye was an Army veterinarian, and a cavalry officer. He was stationed at Fort Meade in the 4th Cavalry Regiment, which is another unit that I've been in. While he was at Fort Meade, the unit was ordered to mechanize. He petitioned to conduct one of the last full cavalry marches from Fort Meade, South Dakota to the Pole Mountains. Another article that I found on this research database was From Horses to Horsepower, the Mechanization and Demise of the U.S. Cavalry, 1916 through 1950 by Roger D. Cunningham. This article talks about how the horse cavalry was successful during the Indian Wars, but during World War I on the Western Front in France, 4 cavalry regiments were deployed, but none saw combat. The cavalry did, however, see action in the Middle East. This article goes on to talk about how over time the mindset of the cavalry officer changed from it is impossible to fully mechanize the cavalry to it is feasible to fully mechanize. The last article that I came across was Major General John K. Hearn. He was the last chief of cavalry before the War Department eliminated the position. He was an outspoken voice for the cavalry branch and the horse. To save the horse cavalry, General Hare tried to blend horse cavalry with the mechanized cavalry in an attempt to control the change.